Jailbreak and Bee Swarm Simulator are my two favorite Roblox games of all time. Recently, Bee Swarm added trading, which is a feature that Jailbreak also has, and had me thinking, which game is better? This is a question that I have been deliberating over for years, and I'll finally be answering it definitively in this video. I'll compare the games across 11 different categories, all of which they share in common with one another, and are things I look for when evaluating a game. The game that performs better in each category will get a point, and at the end of the video, we're gonna see who has more points. The game with more points is the winner. Feel free to skip ahead to any category that interests you, and let me know which game you prefer down below in the comments. Anyways, without any further delay, let's just go ahead and get started. First things first, let's compare the gameplay. First up with Jailbreak, there's two teams, cop and criminal. If you're on the criminal team, you have to escape the prison, then rob several locations to get money. If you're on the cop team, you have to stop criminals to get money. You can use the money to buy cars, guns, apartments, and other useful items to help you when you're playing the game. In Bee Swarm Simulator, the goal is to collect pollen and then convert it to honey. With honey, you can buy more bees and better tools to help you collect more pollen and get more honey. Essentially, the goal in both games is to get as much money or honey as possible and to max out your character as much as possible. Essentially, if you buy everything, you've pretty much beaten both of them. In this category, I'm gonna give the point to Jailbreak. I find playing both games to be a very enjoyable experience, obviously. And while I do think Bee Swarm has a lot more variety in its gameplay, there's far more you can do than just collect pollen and turn it into honey. For example, there's several challenges, quests, bosses, and other stuff that you can do. However, Bee Swarm has increasingly gone in the direction of maximizing playtime from players, and it just becomes a bit draining once you get to the endgame stage. If you want to be a good player and have a lot of stuff, you basically need to macro or AFK, especially due to the usage of planters, which give you a buff, but you need to stay in game for quite a while in order to unlock it. As someone who chooses not to macro, I find it pretty frustrating that people who actively play more frequently are still at a disadvantage compared to people who can just leave their computer on all day and get a ton of stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't blame those people at all. This is more the fault of the development side, and I think more steps need to be taken to ensure that people who actively play and people who passively play are on a similar level. Jailbreak just doesn't have this issue in my opinion. I can just get on and casually play, and I feel like I'm grinding towards something with the seasons or with collecting money, but I don't feel the need to keep my computer on for hours and hours and hours, and I don't feel like I'm missing out when I don't do that. Again, I think both games are very fun to play, but I think Bee Swarm has a big problem with its gameplay that Jailbreak simply doesn't have. After that, let's discuss the mobs/bosses. Both games force the player to encounter several hostile enemies and fight some bosses. Jailbreak has bandit guards that protect airdrops, the mansion robbery, and the oil rig robbery, and Jailbreak also has a boss battle where players need to defeat the CEO to get money. Bee Swarm Simulator has hostile mobs on almost every field of a striking variety. There are also several different bosses with their own unique abilities, challenges, and rewards. In this category, I think the point will have to go to Bee Swarm Simulator since it has such a large variety of bosses and mobs. While Jailbreak is still very limited with the amount of bosses and mobs it has, Jailbreak only has one boss battle, and while there are different bandit guards with different weapons, fighting them is still pretty much the same process. However, with Bee Swarm Simulator, each boss has its own attack you have to watch out for. Bee Swarm has a much larger variety of bosses and mobs, and I think they enhance the game a lot more than the bosses and mobs do in Jailbreak. Next, let's talk about the updates, and in my opinion, there's a clear winner here. I think Jailbreak will easily get the point. Bee Swarm has become infamous with how long the hiatuses are between updates. Nowadays, the game only gets one major content update per year, usually at the very end of the year during Christmas. Now, when the updates do arrive, they're almost always very exciting, and they usually add some pretty cool content to the game, but they arrive very rarely, and oftentimes the developer has overpromised on what he's adding to the update. Then he decides to split the update into multiple parts. Then we have to wait a long time for the next part of the update, and by the time the next part of the update arrives, a lot of the content that the developer promised us doesn't come. For example, in 2021, he promised to add some new endgame backpacks in part 2 of Beesmas, but that never ended up happening. With Jailbreak, while the updates may not be as big or as exciting as Bee Swarm updates when they do arrive, I think the Jailbreak updates are far more consistent. They arrive on a monthly basis, so if an update disappoints points, you don't have to wait too long until the next one. Usually the updates are pretty good, as they usually add a new vehicle, make changes or entirely revamp an existing system in the game, maybe add a new season to hold players over and keep them coming back to the game, and routinely polish and make adjustments to the game so things don't get too crazy. Due to the lack of updates, I usually just play Bee Swarm when it updates at the end of the year. However, with Jailbreak, I'm always playing it year round, so I think I'm going to give the point to Jailbreak here. Then let's talk about the UI. One of the biggest issues with Jailbreak right now, in my opinion, is the UI. It's so inconsistent. The UI for the cache looks much different than the season UI, which looks much different than the garage UI. It's all just a mess, and a lot of the UIs just don't look very good. I think Bee Swarm does a much better job in this regard. The UI is very pleasing to look at. It's easy to navigate for the most part, though it can get very inconvenient if you have a lot of stuff in your inventory. I really want Onet to add more categories in your inventory so you can easily navigate to the stuff that you want to use instead of having to scroll all the way down for a specific item. But otherwise, I'm far happier with Bee Swarm's UI than Jailbreak. It's much more consistent and overall is much prettier to look at. So Bee Swarm will get the point in this category. After that, let's discuss the Robux. Of course, the developers have to make money somehow, and monetizing several features in their game is a great way to do it. I think Jailbreak honestly is pay to win. You pretty much need the duffel bag if you're a committed long-term player. It significantly speeds up your money-making process. While with Bee Swarm Simulator, the Badcc Game Pass is helpful, but it's not an absolute necessity, and there are several people who have played the game and gotten to a very good position that don't have it. I don't think Bee Swarm is as pay to win as Jailbreak, although people who spend Robux in Bee Swarm definitely do have an advantage. I just think Bee Swarm isn't as overbearing as Jailbreak when it comes to Robux, since Bee Swarm only has 3 game passes, and while some like the Badcc are very helpful, they're not absolute necessities, but none of them feel like scams. In my opinion, most of the Jailbreak game passes are pretty bad. You pretty much only need the duffel bag, the VIP, and the car spawning game pass. However, that being said, those 3 game passes still provide a huge advantage to people who own them over people who don't. So I do think Jailbreak is more pay to win in that aspect. Besides game passes, both games have other forms of monetization. Jailbreak has a season pass with every season that arrives every couple of months, and you can also purchase stuff like rocket fuel, while in Bee Swarm Simulator you can buy a bunch of stuff from the Robux shop, but most of it is a scam. However, during updates there's usually some pretty good packs that offer good items at a decent price. The packs aren't necessary, oftentimes I skip most of them, but they're still pretty helpful and a nice bonus to people willing to pay. The microtransactions of Bee Swarm Simulator are helpful but not necessary, while in Jailbreak it does feel like you're at a major disadvantage if you don't buy any of the game passes. And most of the time, I think the Bee Swarm microtransactions are a better deal than the Jailbreak ones. So I think Bee Swarm will get a point here because I think Bee Swarm handles Robux better than Jailbreak. Now let's talk about the models. Although the basic and blocky aesthetic of Bee Swarm is a huge part of its appeal, this does come with the downside of the work just not being that good compared to other games. Several mobs and aspects of the game just feel very basic and very underdeveloped, and I feel like a lot of them could do with a bit of a reworking. However, in Jailbreak, I feel like the modeling is far more refined and precise. So many of the vehicles look incredible, the map looks very nice overall, all the locations are cool, so I'm gonna give the point to Jailbreak in this category. I think Jailbreak does a far better job of modeling overall. Then let's talk about the music. This is something that I think both games pretty much excel at. Jailbreak has music in its robberies and heists, and it really enhances them in my opinion. It makes them a lot more thrilling and fun to do, and sometimes a bit more stressful. Even though the devs didn't create the music that's in the game, the song choice is still excellent, and they know how to pick the perfect song for every robbery. Bee Swarm Simulator basically has constant music throughout. From the moment you join the game, you're subjected to a looping audio track, and as you go to different areas, it changes, but it's still basically the same song looping over and over again. Somehow Onet was able to craft several different audio tracks that, although they loop over and over again, I found that they've never really been annoying. They're always so charming and really enhance the gameplay. And although this is a subjective thing and many people probably disagree, I've never ever found them to be irritating, even though I've spent hours and hours and hours in this game. Onet also does an incredible job of crafting music that is perfect for the situation you're in. Whether it's intense looming music over a boss battle, cool shop music, or peaceful, mysterious music when you're in the Star Amulet room, Onet just does not miss with his songs. Each one is a banger in their own right, though my personal favorite is probably the Gummy Layer soundtrack. Just listen to this. After hearing this song, who wouldn't want to work for Gummy Bear? So again, I think this is something that both games really excel at, but I'm gonna give the point to Bee Swarm Simulator here because Onet actually created the music as far as I know, whereas Jailbreak is still using Lawn Reality's music. However, this is still something that I think both games work really well at, and I think they're really enhanced by the music they choose. Next, let's talk about each game's trading system. The latest Bee Swarm update finally brought trading to the game. In trading, you can trade Cub Buddy skins, bee quips, which are special tools you can put on your bees to enhance their abilities, and stickers, which you can use for decoration or for getting some extra stats. Thankfully, you cannot trade eggs, tools, honey, or anything that actually affects the main gameplay.
OMG, hi, you are so pro. Wow, so many bees and epic tools.
Yes.
Any chance I could get star egg, please? I need to get star amulets.
No.
Please, I am so poor.
No. Loser, get it yourself.
Okay.
In Jailbreak, you can trade cars and pretty much every single cosmetic item there is in the game. However, there's several safety measures in place in Jailbreak to ensure that things don't get out of hand. The trading has a value system to make sure that players are giving something that has approximately equal value to the item being traded. This ensures that players can't get like $1 million vehicle just for trading nothing. One thing I really like about trading in both games is that they have a separate hub just for trading. While you can trade in the main Bee Swarm game, it's very helpful to go to the trading hub if you want to meet other people and see what they have to offer. And for Jailbreak, the trading hub is helpful to keep trading out of the main game, since people begging for items can be pretty annoying for people who just want to experience the game normally. I think both games have handled trading very well. Part of why Jailbreak is still thriving right now is due to the addition of trading, which helps foster and maintain community engagement. I imagine there's several Jailbreak players who mainly trade. They don't even play the main game that much. I imagine trading will give Bee Swarm a similar amount of longevity. However, to me, trading in Bee Swarm isn't quite as appealing since you're trading stuff that often doesn't really help you that much in the main game. I'm glad that there are limitations in place, and I definitely would not change the way Onet has constructed trading in Bee Swarm. However, to me, it's just less interesting than trading in Jailbreak, which allows you to actually unlock vehicles. I'll give the point to Jailbreak in this category since I think trading in Jailbreak has done more to enhance the game than I think trading in Bee Swarm will, and Jailbreak trading feels a bit more relevant. However, that's not to say I don't like Bee Swarm trading. I think Bee Swarm trading has been handled very well, and overall, I think trading in both games is a great idea since it allows players to get items that have been retired and are now unobtainable. And it also ensures the community stays active and allows for a whole new level of player engagement. Now let's compare the developer interactions for each game. It feels a bit weird to be comparing actual people, especially since I think all 4 of the developers here are pretty good guys, at least from what I've seen. Like, I don't think any of them are bad people or anything. So I'm only comparing how they interact with the community and how they create updates. Since Jailbreak has 3 developers behind it in the Badcc team, they are very efficient, and this strongly helps them with maintaining and updating the game. Asimo is mainly responsible for modeling, while Badcc and Critstykes are responsible for coding and programming. They seem to work very well together, and like I said, they're very efficient at making updates, and they're very good at being transparent and interacting with the community. Now, Bee Swarm Simulator is run by only one guy, Onet, and frankly, I don't know how he does it all by himself. He probably is an actual genius. There's so many complexities with what he has to code and account for, and it's all on him. Yet somehow he's still been able to manage the game after 6 years with pretty much no help. However, the burden of running an incredibly popular Roblox game is very difficult, and it's clear that several times Onet has been very stressed by the demands of his game and the community. There's been several points in the past where he wants to outdo himself and then gets very overwhelmed and often goes off the grid for several months, but he still comes back and gives us another update. Recently, the stress and demand for updates really got to him, and although Onet really loves the game, it's clear that he doesn't quite have the passion for it that he used to. He doesn't start making the updates until a couple of months before Christmas, yet it often still gets delayed. I love both developer teams and what they've done for both games, but I think I'll give the point to Jailbreak here because I think the Jailbreak developer team works a lot more efficiently, especially since there's multiple people involved, and also they're very interactive with their community, whereas Onet, since he's one guy, things can get very stressful and he often feels the need to outdo himself. Of course, it would be great if Onet was able to get a couple of people to help him, but it's much easier said than done since he's mentioned that he doesn't quite like working with people and the code is basically impossible to understand from an outsider perspective. I really do feel bad for what Onet has to face, and don't get me wrong here, I'm not blaming him at all for delaying the updates or anything like that, but the fact is I just think Jailbreak developers do a better job with creating content and interacting with the community, so I think they'll get a point here. Now let's talk about team balance. Now, Bee Swarm players might be thinking, but Noob Freak, Bee Swarm has no teams. Well, in Bee Swarm Simulator, you can choose to make your hive revolve around a certain hive color, all with their own strengths and weaknesses. You can choose to be a red hive, which is very good for attack, a white hive, which is very good for boosts, or a blue hive, which is very good for macroing and AFKing and building up a lot of honey. You could also be a mixed hive, which is usually what most players are until they reach the end game, where they have an equal amount of red, blue, and whites. But obviously that position is not very viable once you get to endgame. Of course, the teams of Jailbreak are pretty obvious. There's a criminal and a cop team. In my opinion, the team balance for both games has historically been one of the biggest issues they've had to face, but in this category, I'm going to give the point to Jailbreak. For the longest time, I was very frustrated with the team balance in Jailbreak since the criminal team was making so much more than the cop team, but a recent update finally addressed this concern and now they make a very good amount of money in comparison. There's still things that could be improved in my opinion, but the cop team is in a very good spot compared to the criminal team. As for Bee Swarm, I still think that there are issues with how the teams are balanced. What often happens in updates is that the developer buffs a color since they've historically been underpowered, and then he nerfs another color to make up for it, but oftentimes he goes a bit too far and makes the buffed color far too buffed and the nerfed color far too nerfed, in which case during the next update the cycle repeats. It's very expensive to switch your hive to a different color, so it's always kind of annoying when another update comes around and the colors have been screwed around with. I think the team balance in Bee Swarm is a lot more stable now and each color is more refined, and the past couple updates haven't really done any major changes to the existing color meta, but I do think the team balance has probably been a bigger issue for Bee Swarm than it has been for Jailbreak throughout the course of its existence, and right now I think the team balance of Jailbreak is better, so I think Jailbreak will get the point. Finally, let's talk about glitches and lag. Bee Swarm will get the point in this category because it has far less glitches and far less lag than Jailbreak. Jailbreak is kind of infamous for all the bugs and glitches you can find, and several of them are pretty old. For example, the game's anti-cheat can be pretty annoying sometimes since players that are skydiving often get bugged and get held in place for quite a while. Although the devs tried their hardest to tackle these bugs whenever they rise up, they're still quite plentiful and often very annoying. For some reason, Jailbreak has also been quite a demanding game throughout its entire existence. When I was using lower end devices like my MacBook, it was very difficult to play Jailbreak since it was very laggy, whereas Bee Swarm Simulator was still more tolerable on lower end devices. Now, don't get me wrong, lag is still a problem in Bee Swarm Simulator. For years, people that were boosting had to go into small servers of 3 or less people because any more than that would make things very laggy and ruin their boosts. And there are still some bugs out there, but I don't think the problems are to the same extent as seen in Jailbreak. When playing Bee Swarm, the lag and glitches that I find aren't nearly as glaring as in Jailbreak, so it will get the point from me. So after comprehensively comparing the games across 11 different categories, to me, Jailbreak is the better game. Bee Swarm has substantial gameplay flaws in the form of the team balance and the disadvantage active players have to passive players, and the updates aren't very consistent to say the least. Whereas Jailbreak obviously doesn't have these problems in my opinion. Jailbreak is in a very good spot right now. It feels almost complete. While there's still a lot of possible updates we could get in Bee Swarm and several problems that constantly need addressing. Again though, I still really love both games. They've pretty much been the only ones I consistently play since 2018, and they've cemented themselves as a huge part of my adolescence. But that's going to conclude my comparison between Bee Swarm and Jailbreak. What do you think? Which game do you think is better? Which one do you play more? Comment your thoughts down below. Remember, this is just my opinion. You're free to disagree. Just be respectful. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.